An interface specifies which methods must be defined by the class implementing the interface. Let's say somewhere in our app we have functionality that calls the render method on an image object. Maybe it's a function print image, and it takes an image object as an argument there, and it prints the output of the render method. Now, it really doesn't matter how the image class is created, just that it exposes a render method for us to use. We can create an image interface for developers that specifies methods that must be implemented for an object to work as an image object in this application. To declare the interface, we'll use the keyword interface with an image interface as the name, and open it up with a curly brace. So that's just like we would in a class, except we're using the word interface. And to declare a method, we'll define it just like we would a method in a class, public function render. Any arguments would go in between the parens here, but we don't have any. But we'll terminate it with a semicolon. We're not going to provide it with a method body. A good analogy I've heard of an interface is that it is like a contract. If I implement image interface, I'm entering a contract to provide a render method. To use the interface, I'll create a class that implements image interface. So let's declare class image implements image interface. Now, could I just create a class with a render method that doesn't implement the interface? Sure, but if I implement the interfaces available, I'll know right away that my class conforms to certain specifications. So let's see, I'm not providing a render function yet, but I'll refresh the page, and PHP is telling me that I need to implement another method. It's defined in image interface ;render. So let's do that now. I'll say public function render, and this will just return some text for this example. And I'll save that, and my error should go away. There we go. So even without instantiating an object, PHP enforces the interface requirement. The dependency on render here isn't so complicated, but consider a case where there were 3 to 5 methods, maybe more, you needed to implement for your component to function properly within the framework. If you weren't extremely familiar with the framework, it would be easy to miss methods that you needed to implement. Now, if you were having trouble getting something to work, wouldn't it be nice to rule out the possibility of having missed a method that you needed to implement? That is what an interface gives us. I'll go into a couple more details on its use, but that is the basis of an interface. Regarding additional usage, I'll demonstrate how a class can implement more than one interface and how an interface can extend another interface. So first, I'll create another interface. We'll create one for the dimensions. So we'll say interface, image dimensions, and we'll tell it we want to require a function called getDimensions. And if I want to implement that interface in addition to the image interface, I'll separate it with a comma, and I'll give it image dimensions. Save that. And so if I refresh the screen, I'm getting an error that I'm missing the getDimensions method. So let's define that public function getDimensions, and we'll just return some text for the example, just like we do, but I'll save that, refresh the page, and the error goes away. So the other thing we can do is we can extend interface. So if I extend image interface, then image dimensions is inheriting the methods defined in image interface. So down here, I could just implement, let's just implement image dimensions, and that will enforce both render and dimensions to be required. Let's take render out for a second. You can see PHP Storm is telling me it's not good. Let's refresh, and this is telling me I am missing the image interface ;render. So if I put that back and refresh, that error should go away. So in summary, An interface is implemented by a class. It specifies what methods the class must implement. A class can implement multiple interfaces, and an interface can be extended by another interface.